Hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, PrecisionHydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalise your hydration strategy today at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict.
We're also brought to you by foodsell.co.uk.
The next generation of top tube nutritional carriers for your bike, designed to allow endurance triathletes and cyclists to carry enough food and gels while allowing easy access. Use the code FREEPOST for free delivery worldwide. Check it out at foodsell.co.uk.
And lastly, we're brought to you by teamoxygenaddict.com triathlon coaching.
Helping hundreds of age group triathletes see huge improvements in their 70.3 and Ironman performances. The time training system makes sure that you get the important training done each week in a way that complements the rest of your life.
All right, great stuff. So this week we have an interview with Katrina Rye. Hells, this was a perfectly timed interview. Well done by you, because she's just won this weekend the ETU Middle Distance Championships. So well done you with your little psychic abilities to know who to interview.
Thanks. Yeah, she's making a name for herself this season, turned pro around about April kind of time, but brilliant story behind it all, and she's definitely already been sort of up there on the podium.
Yeah, nice work. We've also got results from Challenge Roth out in Germany, Ironman Austria, and Outlaw Half Holcomb in the UK here as well. So looks like there's some awesome racing this weekend, Hells. I think we've had the crazy mix of weather in some places, haven't we?
We have. Yeah, apparently Austria kind of, it was all fine, it was all lovely, and then even in Austria there was then a ridiculous storm and they had to sort of evacuate the site for about half an hour. And then obviously last weekend we had ridiculous temperatures in Frankfurt, and then in Hamburg this weekend it was the World Triathlon Series, and it just looked rather chilly. They were in wetsuits, so complete crazy combo. It's
like doubly punished in Austria. It's been hot enough to make the water so hot everyone had to swim without wetsuits on, but then they get absolutely hammered by thunderstorms. And when I tuned into Facebook Live, I was looking at it and going, oh wow, it looks like, the British summertime. They've got a race. So it was, the cameras like cowering underneath a tree, the trees are swaying, the rain was belting down, it just looked beastly.
And they had to do a non-wetsuit swim.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate. That's really
bad
hard,
combo.
I think, for a lot of age groups, isn't it? When you train thinking it's going to be okay, I'm going to get to wear my wetsuit, and then it gets announced the day before that you can't wear it. A lot of the guys we had racing out there had much, much longer swim times than they expected. And of course, that goes on to have a knock-on onto the rest of the race, doesn't it? If you've been in the water for an hour and 50 when you're expecting to swim an hour and 25, it's a big chunk of your day and your energy used up just to get out of the water.
Yeah. The amazing thing about Austria is the support and the location of that course. It's awesome. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic, because even when you come, so you swim the first chunk in a lake and then you come down a canal into
that looks amazing, that, doesn't it?
It's this brilliant. So then you've got people either side. It's just great. And then even out on the bike course, there's loads of support. And this year for Ironman Austria, they had built a stadium and everything for them to finish in.
Oh,
wow. Ran up a ramp onto a stage. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I was flicking back and forwards between the coverage of Roth and Austria, and you had this kind of, I don't think the support on the run course that year, well, certainly not for the bit that I saw. Obviously, all the crowd had cleared off to try and hide in cafes. You were going back and forth between Roth, which was 10 deep through the town, to Austria, where there was like the leader running through and there was chairs getting blown over. No one was watching because they're all trying to stay dry. I was like, wow, what a difference a few 100 miles makes.
There were bits of the Austria run course which were quite quiet. And then when you get into the town, so it was, I'm trying to think, it was almost like the bit
I saw it at.
Yeah, like the very end when there weren't that many people, and then you'd sort of loop back round and head back in towards Klagenfurt. And that's where loads of people are, and in the cafes and drinking, and you're thinking, I just want some of your cold beer, thank you.
Yeah, well, I don't think our mum's after cold beer yesterday looking at them. I watched one of the lead men, I'm not sure which one, but I think it was in second or third, and had been reduced to a walk. And all of a sudden, like an age grouper tapped him on the bum and said, come on, mates, come running with me. And then all of a sudden, three of his supporters, who were wearing the same sort of like sponsored kit in the same colours, came running out of the cafe with the hoods up, clapped him, and then ran back into the cafe again. Oh dear.
Nice.
Right, so we'll go through the full results then. Results are sponsored by Precision Hydration, and we've had an email through from listener Helen Rayner, who's just tried pH for the first time. She says, I thought you might like to know what happened when I tried Precision Hydration. A while back I ordered a trial pack because, well, who doesn't like a freebie?
True.
So true. It lingered at the back of my kitchen cupboard gathering dust, but then last week when Rob mentioned the pH blog post, I went and had a read. The following morning my training plan said to do a 12k run, so I decided to give the pH approach a try. I drank 500 millilitres of pH the night before and 500 millilitres on the morning of the run. Now, I'm not great at running in the mornings, most likely because I'm dehydrated before I even put my running shoes on. What happened on the pH morning was amazing. I got a 10k run PB without trying, and I finished the 12k feeling able to keep going. This is a massive success for me, and I'm amazed. I've never known a product bring such massive improvement to my performance. Love this, Hel. This is it's like proper advertising, isn't it? Nice work, Helen. Right, so what next? To ensure I get a tailored hydration strategy, I've booked an in-person sweat test in August. Hell, I don't think we need to even say any more, do we? I don't think we could have a better advert for pH on the show than that.
No, I think that's it. Thanks, Helen.
So listeners, if you haven't tried this already, go over to precisionhydration.com, take the online sweat test, get a free tube or box of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict. It might be that taking care of your hydration has a massive positive effect on your performance, just like it did on Helen's. Right then, not you, Helen, other Helen.
Other Helen.
So let's kick off then. Let's talk about Challenge Roth first. Obviously, massively important race on the calendar. Looked like they had some pretty decent weather for it as well. And big news on the women's side was a really dominating win for Lucy Charles-Barclay.
Yep, it was wire to wire. She swam 49, biked for 39, and then she ran sub 3. She did a 2:59 marathon to win in a time of 8:31:09, which is like the sixth fastest time over the iron distance.
Fastest iron distance time ever for a lady. The only people who've ever gone faster are Chrissy and Daniela, who both have gone faster in Roth, and Mel Hauschild, who went faster at Ironman Texas last year. So that's a solid performance, isn't it?
Yeah, and she said it's, you can never stop pushing and giving everything. This was very important to me because last year I got beaten right near the end, which she did, didn't she? She lost by, was it 9 seconds?
Yeah.
To Danielle Blamel?
That's right. She got overtaken in the last 400 metres or something, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, really solid run. And do you know what? Shout out to, my mind's gone blank. Sarah Crowley in second place, whose bike and run splits were almost exactly the same as Charles-Barclay's, and the difference between them was essentially what she lost on the swim. So she kept pushing all day. Really solid performance from her, and I think she ran just a few seconds over 3 hours as well. So yeah, very impressive stuff.
Stride for stride. And Sarah Crowley's one of those interviews, if you haven't heard it, we spoke to her a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago. So go back and listen. She was great fun and a super talented athlete. And Rob, did you see who finished 8th?
Go on.
Ruth Purbrook.
Oh yeah, I saw that on Twitter. She was the overall age group winner, wasn't she, by like 20 minutes or something?
She did, so 9 hours 12 she finished in. Superb performance from Ruth, yeah. 58-minute swim, 4:46 on the bike, and then a 3:23 run. She, I think she had said that she wanted to try to go sub 9. That was the aim. But honestly, what a solid performance from Ruth. So, she works full time. I think Ruth works more than full time.
Yeah.
If you've listened to or speak to her before, she works crazy long hours. And then she can go and produce a time like that. So, yeah, really well done to Ruth.
Over on the men's side, we had a win for Andy Dright. He zoomed under the 8-hour barrier there in 7:59. And then the interesting thing for me was that Cam Worth didn't make up as much time as I thought he was going to.
No.
I thought he was gonna come zooming through, but just wasn't quite there for him today, was it?
No. No, he didn't. He didn't get the fastest bike split, did he?
No.
Perhaps he was saving something for the run, though. Look, he did a 2:50 run.
Oh, I hadn't seen that. Really?
Mm.
Do you know what, Hells? I'll share this with the listeners. Listeners, my computer is doing that thing today where it's not loading any of the web pages in the background.
Oh no, he's got the beach ball of doom.
I've got it's beach balling around on the screen for me.
Well, the other I think notable run there was McNamee, who did a 2:41 run, fastest run of the day.
Yeah.
So David McNamee finished fifth. Andreas Dreitz took the win in 7:59 ahead of Jesper Svensson of Sweden, and then Cam Wurf was third. Bart Arnault of Belgium, who finished on the podium at Kona last year, he was second. He was just behind Cam Wurf and just ahead of McNamee.
Yeah, there we go. So it does look like Cam Wurf's backed off on the bike a little bit, doesn't it? But what an amazing run for him. That's got to be his fastest run ever, hasn't it?
I don't know, but it's very swift.
Yeah. Wowzers.
Yeah.
I believe there were 5 of the top 10 from Kona racing there as well. So
well, you got
what,
McNamee? I mean, it was a really solid field, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. Okay, then, over to Ironman Austria.
In Ironman Austria, Rob, Daniela Ryf was racing, and I think a lot of people were thinking, oh, how fast is she going to go? Is she going to go and get the course record there? She didn't get the course record, and it would look like she kind of took her foot off the gas a little bit in the end, because she was really comfortable, but she actually said she wasn't feeling all the power there today. She said it was a tough day. My body was not in a perfect place. My energy in the end was just, I didn't have a whole load of energy at the end, but still she won by nearly 20 minutes. So she took the win ahead of Bianca Stura and then Heini Hartikainen. Frankie Sanjana, who we spoke to just a couple of weeks ago, she made her pro debut at Ironman and was fourth with 9:50. And then Daniel Bikegaard of Denmark took the win on the men's side in 8:14 ahead of Sten Goitzvois and David Please.
Daniela Ryf's bike split there, 4:43, is only like 10 minutes shy of what the leading men were riding.
Yeah.
That's quite amazing, isn't it? It doesn't look like times were as quick there as it had been in previous years. I think when you consider we've seen like a 7:45, I think, from memory. Was it that Marino did there? So it's 30 minutes slower for the men. And then Daniela to go 8:52 on a day when it wasn't like a fast day. Superb performance by her. I mean, the thing is, it's easy to kind of go, we expect superb performances from her, doesn't it? But to be able to go 8:50 on a day when she's not feeling it and she has to shut it down on the marathon is really impressive.
Yeah. She's just a phenomenal athlete.
Okay, racing down at the Outlaw Half Holcombe. We've heard loads of good stuff. It looks like it was a beautiful day for racing down in Holcombe. And another win for Mr. Clark. Another win, another course record.
And he got a puncture.
I read this. And he still rode 4:15 or something absolutely mental like that.
He still got a puncture, and he still took it out in just over 4 hours. So he did 4 hours and 27 seconds.
Wow, incredible stuff. Winner over on the ladies' side of the race was Kim Morrison, wasn't it?
Yeah, and she just missed out on the course record by 8 seconds. And I think it's Kat Foe, who still holds that record.
Right. I was going to say, I couldn't remember who it was, but solid course record for sure.
Definitely. So 4:32 and 22 seconds was Kim's time. So some great racing from the two of them.
Now, I haven't seen this one, Hells. WTS Hamburg. It looks like we've had a win for non-Stanford.
We did have a win for non-Stanford, yeah. I did watch it. I watched, I think I've caught up on it all, actually. I wasn't able to watch any of it live, but caught up on it. And non-Stanford came off the bike and basically bombed it out of transition and then held on to take the win. And it was her first victory in World Triathlon Series for like 3 years. So
really?
She's moved from Leeds and she's moved to be coached with Joel Filiol's squad. So completely different environment for her, but it's finally, all that hard work has finally come to fruition. And it was so good to see her take the win. And she said afterwards that she wasn't expecting to do that today, but just how happy she was. The conditions out there looked awful. There were quite a lot of crashes on the bike. In the men's race, a Hungarian athlete went down, and then a load of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a load of guys obviously crashed on top. Johnny Brownlee was one of them to be involved in that crash, and he couldn't carry on because I think his rear mech had fallen off.
Oh no!
Snapped off in it. Yeah, so he couldn't carry on. But Jake Birtwistle, it was such a good finish. He had Vincent Louis and Jake Birtwistle sort of side by side coming into the finish chute, and Birtwistle just managed to get it on the line. If you haven't seen it, just go back and watch it. It was a really good finish from the men's race because there were about 6 of them still together on like that last lap of the run. It was proper good.
Fast run race finish.
Yeah.
Magic.
So honestly, go back and watch it. It was fab.
I have to go and check that out later on. And then finally, we mentioned this at the start, but at the ETU middle distance champs, we've got to give a shout out to our interview of the week, Katrina Rye, because she takes out the gold medal, which is very impressive.
Yeah, I think it was her first elite GB vest. So great start.
What a great way to start, by taking out the gold. And I'm just going to give a shout out to one of the guys I coach, Nigel Buxton. He was racing and he dropped me a message to say it was really hot out there, and he said he came running around on his third lap to find a lady on the floor. So he stopped to kind of help her and got her up and going. She went down again and he got her up and going again. And it turns out she was on her last lap and he still had a lap to go. So he kind of helped her along for a bit till she could get going, and she managed to get across the finish line. So, fair play. You're racing the European Championships with a GB vest on, and stopping to help somebody, I think, is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's a selfless thing to do.
Sure is. Well, that leads us nicely into our interview of the week this week with Katrina Rye, won't it? Tell us a little bit about her, please, before we go on, Hells.
Yeah, well, she works as a physio in the army. Super talented, very laid back, and she was just a real pleasure to chat to. So here you go. Here is this week's interview of the week with Katrina Rye. Katrina Rye, hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. How's it going?
Hi, yeah, really good, thank you.
Congratulations on your recent podium at Staffordshire 70.3.
Yeah, mega. That was a little bit, out of the blue, unexpected, but yeah, really happy.
So that was your first pro race, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah. So
talk us through the process. How did it go?
I trained pretty hard over the winter. I targeted Stafford as a nice local race. It was the right time of the year. It was looking good as an amateur, and I hoped that with a couple of races I could then finish the World Champs in 2019 and look at a professional licence if I had been good enough over the year. And then once I turned up to Gran Canaria, I just swam, biked and ran the race I had hoped for, in numbers, and it was surprisingly good enough to tick that box straight away. So, getting on board the professional side of things was a bit of a tricky conundrum in a way, because I had already qualified for Nice, the 70.3 champs, as an amateur, and by then racing before that as a professional, I would have DQ'd myself as an amateur. So I'd set, my hearts on winning, I guess, at the amateur world champs 70.3. So there was a lot of discussion with some supportive members of families and friends to make that decision. But yeah, so British Triathlon then awarded me my pro/elite license after the result at Gran Canaria. So I took it up and just jumped straight in at Stafford.
Was it? I mean, cause you're pretty new to triathlon generally, aren't you?
Yeah. So everyone's probably feels just as new to it when there's step on the start line. But I think I've been doing it seriously I've been doing triathlon properly for 4 years. The first couple of years weren't so serious, and then I realised that I had a bit more potential to try and find. So I wanted to find where that limit was, I guess. So yeah.
Did you swim or bike or run when you were younger, or was it a new thing?
Yeah, so I did the whole kids swimming lessons, all the way through. So learn to swim, got your 50-meter badge, sewed it on the towel.
Did you get up to 1,500 meters as a kid?
I did actually, this one time. The local swimming pool had a sort of junior club, which I then jumped on board and found that swimming galas on a Saturday night were my only way to get a McDonald's. So that was quite good fun. I stayed doing that for quite a while because it was just a good laugh, really. And then at the same time, I was playing hockey a couple of times a week and for the local club. So I took hockey pretty seriously, like National League and then county and regional level. Never making national squads, but trying to believe I was good enough, but I wasn't. And then on the side, just doing running and like cross country at school as well. So it's quite good fun. So yeah, I guess I had a good background. Only ever rode bikes that my dad would acquire from the local recycling centre. So absolutely no cycling.
Check the brakes both times before.
Yeah. Oh, they were very safe. Helmets were an absolute must if we were cycling down to swimming because it was raining or whatever. But so no, I had a good sort of aerobic background, but really focused on hockey most of my early 20s really.
And through university as well.
Yeah. So I played sort of first team at Cardiff Uni in my all the way through university really. It was an easy transition to just jump straight into a really sociable, quite good quality hockey team rather than thrash myself with triathlon.
So what made you then, I guess, hang up the hockey sticks and go more for swim, bike, run?
I only actually made that decision about 18 months ago. So even in the first couple of years of doing triathlon, I was just coaching myself, trying to work out, I'll do a swim here and a bike here. And Tuesday nights was, hockey, so it's quite a heavy night. So then the next day I just swim. And then I kept getting a bit stuck at the weekends because I wanted to go for a nice long ride. But then I had this big heavy hockey match. And the risk of injury at those matches, I just kept pulling things, I kept twisting things, and then I'd be out. And I realised that if I actually wanted to take the next step in terms of aiming for somewhere higher, I needed to give up the sort of Saturdays, which was a shame. So that only happened about 18 months ago. So yeah.
Did you miss it initially? Because I mean, it's really different, isn't it, from going from a team sport to something which, yes, you can train with others, but when you're swimming, you can't be talking underwater, can you?
Yeah, but I knew it was a way to make swimming a little bit more fun. No, I do miss it, but it was also it was logistically quite hard, especially being in the army, to play at weekends because you always felt like you couldn't fully commit to a local team, and you were doing them a sort of favour on some of the weekends. So it did change once I joined the army in terms of being fully committed to the hockey side of things. But yeah, I do miss it. It's fun.
Talk us through your first triathlon then. When was that?
So officially, my first triathlon.
Yeah, go for the official. Go for the official version.
Well, I get the true version. I got having finished school, I took a gap year. Travelled around quite a lot. Got pretty fat. Did no exercise. So coming back, I had my place at Cardiff to do physio, and I was like, right, I probably should get a bit of, get fit, not look like a sort of. Anyway, and my dad managed to find someone who had a spare bike, was about my size, and there was a local triathlon. So he sort of, I guess, did he push me into it? No, I think he led me easily, sort of falling into it.
Left clues around the house. There's a triathlon on.
Yeah. So yeah, I did a local triathlon before university, thinking, originally it was just a good way to get fit, and I'd never gone for a cycle at this point. I think I put a jacket on in the run, on the bike, and it was miserable. I fell off on the recce because I had the cleats, and I went into everybody else, in the group ride. It was awful. But the actual race is quite good fun. It's a pool one, so you never really know where you're at. But yeah, I don't even remember how I did, I think, but it was quite good. I was like, oh, this is all right. And then didn't do anything with that for 4 years after, through uni. And then out the other side. So then taking up triathlon properly 4 years ago, once I'd started working at Headley Court for the Army, there was a swimming pool there. So I had the opportunity to just pop down, 200 meters. I think I counted the steps. It's like 61 steps or something. I just pop down to the swimming pool before work and, do, I don't know, a K. And that was going to be me for the week, probably, my swimming background. Awful. So, yeah. Mixed emotions the first triathlon, but it's definitely once you've done one or two, you're then like, hooked.
So after the break for university, and you had got back into swimming a little bit at Headley Court, what then was what were the next sort of few triathlons then that you did, and was that then the real hook?
Yeah, definitely. I just turned up at the first one was an Army sprint race. So the Army puts on a sprint championships and a standard distance championships every year, which is just for the military, which is amazing. So DB Max run it. And then do a brilliant job during the working week, which is also a bonus. And so I did the sprint and the standard distance of those, and again did well enough on my 400-pound. I think it's built in 1994. Yellow bike with little clip-on tri-bars that I made the Army team that year, which was unheard of. Ruffled a few feathers probably.
Because was everyone else there with I don't know, Cervelo or whatever?
Pointy hair, properly pointy helmets, and I think I don't know, I had one from like Lidl or something. Not dissing Lidl, brilliant shop. So, and then I think I entered a local one because it was a GB age group qualifier that I'd done a little bit of research. I was like, what do people do in triathlon? Where do you go? And it happened to be an hour away. So just entered that and then won. And I was like, oh, cool, GB age group. So yeah, that was the sort of next step, I thought. And then did the GB age group Europeans and Worlds as a sort of, this is quite cool.
And what year was this?
2016 or 17, but I actually did it with a broken wrist. So that was 2017. So I broke my wrist cycling, and then did the Europeans 4 or 5 weeks later with it sort of just strapped up. And then I just swam with a fist.
I was going to say, how the hell? Okay, so how the hell did you do the swim?
Jumped onto this. I just swam with a closed fist. And some sort of DIY zinc oxide tape. So that was quite good fun. But then obviously my time was appalling. And then surprise, about 6 weeks later when I did the Kitzbühel World Champs. It must have been 2017, that I was actually significantly better. So yeah, GBH group, tick.
And by significantly better, we're talking like fifth.
Yeah. So I had a good run.
That's really
I think. Yeah. So I think the Europeans, the quality of the GB age group Europeans is often, discussed in terms of there's often a lot of GB athletes and not as many of the other countries, which is a shame. But the World Champs, I find that they have a lot better diversity. So I think then jumping up to sort of, I think first Brit was like really nice, having been beaten by a lot of them at the Europeans. And then, I just had a really good race. And my mum was out cheering me on, so that was nice.
And was that then another springboard to kind of go, right, well, actually, I've had a broken wrist over the past couple of, weeks, months, whatever, that I've been rehabbing. I've just finished fifth. I'm actually all right at this. How far can I take it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And at that point, there was zero chance of me ever doing middle distance or long distance. I was very much like, this is no chance, two and a bit hours is me. I'm happy with that. But you sort of slowly start to realise that there's not as much going on at that distance. So I looked for the British champs then, the Leeds one in 2018. And I just, I thought that'd be quite a nice one to go and try and win. But unfortunately, I then had a bit of a change of plan, which was the Army giving me the opportunity very, very kindly to go out to Canada for 4 months to work as a physio out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that then changed my plans in terms of stepping up to middle distance. But
it changed everything. So out in Canada, then that's when you did your first 70.3.
Yeah.
So talk us through it. So did you even did you take your bike out there? Did you have a bike? Were you swimming?
So this was early 2018. And then so I was training quite hard at this point. I'd found a local coach in Birmingham who was brilliant, and we just sort of started with it and just kept going. And so I was training quite hard, working quite hard, sort of long working hours at this point. And then this opportunity came up, and within that month of finding out that I was going out to Canada, I also picked up quite a significant overload injury, which took me out from basically doing any training. So at this point I was like, right, well, I'm going away for 4 months. I can't do anything. I couldn't swim, without kicking her, even using a pull buoy and pushing off the wall. It was my knee. I don't know. I'm the physio, I should know. Let's brush over that one. And psychology of injuries is a whole other topic. And so I actually, we were allowed 2 times the 23 kg of airline baggage. So one of those was my bike box, which I did a few phone calls around to try and find out if that was acceptable, and people didn't seem to care as long as you didn't go over the limit. So I just took out barely anything plus a bike, hoping that in that 4 months that at least, I don't know, you could at least look at a pretty bike, even if I couldn't ride it. So I took a bike out, and then happened that I was thinking about flying back for Leeds for the champs, just for a long weekend, and then was like, it's just not worth it, the jet lag, all that sort of side of things. So there was a local triathlon on, and within the first couple of weeks of being there, still couldn't train at all, just a miserable sort of fake triathlete who can't do any exercise. When you're meeting new people and you're just sort of lounging around, you feel a bit silly. But I managed to persuade 2 people who'd never done a triathlon before to sort of give it a go with me as well. So we entered this, what is relatively local, it was about 2 hours away from where we were in Alberta, the Calgary 70.3, and then slowly with a lot of gym work built up back to training, I managed to get my TT bike out on the road for a few hours, and then just built from there. I hadn't run before Calgary more than 15-20 minutes max, and that was
seriously. So you went into the race with
I don't think I was
20 minutes.
I didn't think, and I know this is like lots of people tell this story. I've heard it so many times, and it always amazes me. But I hadn't. I didn't think I was going to be able to do the run, so I just thought, we're all going down for a long weekend. I'll just stop. Classic. I'll just stop as soon as it hurts. But it didn't hurt, and I just ran super steady for me, which was like 4:30s at the time, and I just carried on. At one point I thought, well, this is risky because it's an out and back, so I was like, well, I'm 10k out now,
I've got
to come back. And there was no way I was sprinting for anything, but luckily about the 11k I overtook the girl who was in first, and she was flagging. Sorry, I doubt she'll hear this, but she was flagging and but then cheered me on, so I was like, okay, cool, I'll just keep going at this speed and it can't be too bad. The time at Calgary wasn't great, but the competition wasn't that great either, but
you still won it.
And overall, and there was no pro field, so it was like I got the bike as the first runner. It was amazing. The experience was incredible. That was fun.
And had you how much leading into that then? How much swimming had you done? How much biking had you even done?
So I was back to swimming maybe 2-3 times a week, which is pretty standard for me. And sometimes it was a bit. By this point, my knee was okay. It had settled down, but my hip was really playing up, compensatory contralateral limbs, and so the swimming was okay, but the bike, I just had to really play it by ear. Like sometimes I'd be able to go out and I'd do sort of 3.5 hours. It's just one dead straight road. That was all I had, and a watt bike. So it's quite a fun little Strava route actually. Just literally a dead straight road for 60k. Turn around, go up, go back. So it's really great for time trial practice, which
Perfect.
I had. With there's occasional fear of death as the lorries come flying past you with no But
and
that's
quite big.
part of the fun. Yeah. So I was cycling fine at this point, and I'd been doing some decent watt bike sessions. So it was really only the run, because I picked up, as I returned to running, I picked up a calf strain. So yeah.
I love that you're a physio with all the injuries.
Well, I always say, I feel like I should have all of the injuries. I should start. I want to. Not really, but experience all of them, so then I can sort of offer the empathy. Exactly, yeah. It's all a learning curve for physio, really.
And so so Calgary 70.3 winner, age group race only, but irrelevant. You still won the whole thing, but went into it with an injury. Did you come out of it injured at all, or was that all fine?
Yeah, no. So I came out walking slowly, very slowly, and I knew that I had to be careful. Like, that was unheard of, really, to have done that, and at that pace, I knew that it was sort of borrowed time. So I really, really knuckled down and kept doing the rehab, which I would never normally do. A sort of classic. As soon as you're fixed, you chuck it away. So kept doing that, and just really, really slowly did a few more runs. And I just had to be so careful with making sure I had enough rest. And again, my coach was just so good at sort of spacing these, holding me back, basically, because I just wanted to run because I just love it. And because I'd already entered the Vitruvian, which is actually our inter-services, so where the Army raced the RAF, it's our race. I'd already entered that in September, and I was going back in time. So I sort of had my heart set on that, even though I probably should have spent a bit more time doing rehab. But I think if you can run, I think doing rehab alongside running is the most important for physical development as well as mental health. Yeah. But I managed to then run a decent run at Vitruvian, which I was really happy about. So.
And for you, what decent run? What would decent run be for you?
Last year, at that time of year, I was aiming for a 125, which I think I did I think I might have done a 125.59. So I still counted that as a 125. So it was nowhere near where I wanted to be. And then I spent a lot of the winter actually just really trying to work on my running and just build some sort of form. So I did a 10K race and I did a 36.15, and I was trying to do another one before I then pulled my calves again and So I'm still not where I want to be with my running, but I'm hoping to run a sub 123 flat at some point this season, but we'll see.
Okay. So off the back of Vitruvian and then Calgary 70.3, that's where you then qualified for the 70.3 World Championships as an amateur for this year in Nice.
Yeah.
And then that's how the whole dilemma came in, as to then think, right, well, I could go and try and be overall age group world champion, or after your incredible result at Challenge Gran Canaria, then you're like, oh, I could go pro.
Yes, exactly. I guess it was a dilemma, but actually in hindsight it wasn't. It was a bit of a no-brainer. And so many people sort of said, are you sure, but also a lot of people sort of said, wow, why would you say no? Why would you delay that? Just go for it. What's the point in delaying it? I think the competition at the pro level is like, and from staffs, sort of where I need to be. I don't know. Yeah.
Did the result at Gran Canaria this year, did it surprise you?
Yes and no. So my performance as an age grouper was exactly what in terms of the numbers, like I'd recce'd the course, I'd looked at last year's results. Swim wasn't fun, but the rest, like the numbers on paper, were exactly what I had expected from my training. Watts, speed, the heat, everything. The run was actually a little bit slow for me. I was a bit, disappointed, but I think I realised, with that first couple of turns that I was doing rather well. So I think I probably maybe stepped off the gas slightly, but you can never tell, can you? So the performance itself was not unexpected, but how that then came across in terms of rankings, that was definitely unexpected. But I'm not sure Emma was really trying as hard as she has in the past, so who knows?
You're talking about Emma Pallant, who then you raced again, funnily enough, in your first pro race at Staffordshire.
Yeah.
Was that weird, going from having, been in the age group mix in Gran Canaria to then actually being in the pro start?
I wouldn't say weird, I'd just say fantastic. Yeah, and it absolutely amazing. And I don't think I'll ever really forget it. Just the privilege of being able to go, in the pro wave, having that actual race start next to the people you're trying to compete against, actually trying to find the feet of somebody who you think you might, but actually have no chance of keeping up with. Which was Emma for me at Stafford.
Did you have a word with it before or after it?
Yeah, she's brilliant. So supportive. We had dinner actually after Gran Canaria with Caroline and Mark Livesey and my fiance Mark, and we were just chatting, just casual chats, good banter, and she was just like, yeah, it's good fun. Why would you not race? Sort of, why would you not step up straight away? I think she's a good egg. It was a bit weird, like sort of standing around everybody else as well. There was lots of pros there, and I think everyone's in the same sort of boat. They're all friends by that point, and you're the random newbie who's sort of coming along and being overly excitable, which was probably how they described me at Staffs. But I don't know. Try not to be too weird.
No, I'm sure. So then, what are the plans then for the rest of the season, race wise? Well, that must have changed things a little bit.
Yes. So suddenly I was like, "Ooh, I've got some fun to be had here. Do I set a goal of trying to qualify for the World Champs as a pro? I mean, that's pretty unrealistic, but it can be a goal. So I thought Stafford was already sort of on the paper, and then I've also chosen to race Finland 70.3 in a couple of weeks. So that was going to be another opportunity, although again a really unlikely opportunity to qualify as a pro for the World Champs. So that's in a couple of weeks. But I also, and a sort of long-term dream, is to represent GB Elite, and that's definitely a dream for me. Unfortunately, I missed Pontevra back in May because I hadn't had the results yet to be good, to be selected. So the only one this year is the ETU middle distance in Targu-Muris, is it? Yeah. Targu. So that's in 3 weeks. I'm racing Finland in 2 weeks, and then Europeans in 3 weeks. Yeah, tight turnaround. And then I genuinely just want a little bit of routine before Nice.
Has it been all a bit of a whirlwind this year?
Yeah, it's settled slightly now, but coming back from Gran Canaria, I went straight from Gran Canaria out to Nice for a couple of days, and then we're talking less than 12 hours turnaround, and then another less than 12 hours turnaround. I went out to Cyprus for 10 days training, and then got back, and then had a sort of quite a busy couple of weeks at home, and then racing, and then Stafford, and now someone put on my Instagram recently a countdown to Finland, and it's like 10 days to go, and yeah, it all does feel a little bit on the production line in a way, but it's so much fun. Every day is just like a new challenge of new exciting sort of what's training going to hold today. And so yeah, definitely a whirlwind, but I'm clinging on to every day, like trying not to get ahead of myself and look too far in the future.
When you were in the final year at Cardiff doing your final exams and stuff, would you ever have even thought this would be what was happening a few years down the line?
No, I don't think I was thinking about triathlon at all at that point. I think the only thing I was thinking of is, what can I do to avoid going to work, into like regular routine work? How can I spend my summer in the funnest way possible? Yeah, no, definitely not the routine and effort that it takes to be, a professional triathlete.
How far would you like to go?
Where's the limit? I'm sure there's lots of inspirational quotes that you could pull out at this point. Is
Ironman, is that on the cards?
I laugh at this point and say, absolutely not. No way would I ever do that. But realistically, yeah. I think it's coming round to me that if you can do a middle distance in 4 and a bit hours, can't be that bad, right? I don't know. The idea scares me, but I would like to take the opportunity while I've got the time for the recovery and for the training volume this year to probably try a full distance at the end of 2019, maybe 2020, somewhere rather warmer than the UK. But I haven't
after
made
Nice,
any plans.
kind of see how Nice goes, and then
absolutely.
maybe Ironman later on in the year.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, maybe.
How do you mix your work with, life in the army as a physio and your training? How's that all working?
So I'm incredibly lucky at the moment for the army to sort of recognise the performance level that I'm competing at and put me on a sort of slightly sideline from my primary job role. So they're allowing me to train full time as a triathlete under the support of the TAS programme as well at Loughborough University, and then I'm keeping up my clinical competencies at the local physio unit, and I'm doing about a day a week, but it's in peaks and troughs, sort of with race season and the high training volumes. So I'm hoping, obviously, to do a little bit more when the race season drops down.
How are you finding being able to train pretty much 4, 5, 6 days a week?
Yeah, I mean, it's everyone, it's every age group, every sort of amateur, everyone's dream, isn't it? It's surprising. I did quite a lot of research myself, and my coach, he hasn't trained full-time athletes before, to my knowledge, and so it's all been quite a new experience. But I'm not actually doing a crazy amount more training. I'm just making sure that the training sessions themselves are much better quality, and then timing them right with fueling, time of day, to get the most out of whether it's an intensity session, whether it's a fuel session, whether it's something that is actually just a maintenance day. Having the time before the sessions to prep for the session with rolling, with activation exercises, which again you just sort of skip because you can, and that's what you have to do when you've only got the 45 minutes pre-work in the morning. But when you've got the luxury of having a little bit more time, it's amazing really to just be able to take your time and do everything right, or by the book. But there isn't, I guess there's no one right way.
No, but I mean that must be so different though, being able to do those extra bits, because that's what makes the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think what makes the difference really is the recovery side of things. And I know lots of people are getting on board and recognizing that it's not about doing more training, it's about doing more recovery. But it really is, that's where the adaptation happens. So if you're sleeping well, if you're eating well, and if you're feeling good and you're not stressed with work or other life burdens, finances, then your training load doesn't have to be as much to get the same training back.
Yeah. As a physio, do you do stretching? Do you do foam rolling? All the sort of stuff. Do you do your exercises?
Do I practice what I preach?
Yeah, correct.
Probably a different answer depending on who you ask. Do I think I do enough for me? No. Quite an easy answer. I could definitely spend more time doing it. As I know everybody else does, find it very hard to motivate myself to do those things when things are going well. And as soon as things don't go well, you need to rely on something else and you have to do something else. And it's a very hard mental shift that I'm definitely getting my head around now. Again, I've got more time. Is that the maintenance piece with regards to strength and conditioning specifically, and including in that mobility and activation, and areas that you're trying to work on, is not just injury prevention, but it's also performance gain. So the small intangible things that you can do to allow yourself to perform better in every training session, rather than thinking I'm only doing this to stop myself getting injured, which is actually a really negative view on that goal. So no, I don't do it enough, and I'm working on it.
And as a concrete example, what do you reckon most age groupers could benefit from doing along those lines then?
I think setting realistic goals.
Okay.
Rather than thinking, which exercises should I be doing? I think you need to think about the why first. So do you want to, if you're thinking I'm only doing S&C or strength because I'm trying to prevent from injury, then you're probably thinking of like the compensatory exercises. So things like your hip flexor stretches, opening up the hips because you're doing your cycling and your running, whether you're doing posterior chain work, so your hamstrings and your glutes because of your position on the bike, whether you're doing posterior shoulder work because of the work you do on your shoulders. It's very basic, and you can Google strength and conditioning exercise, for maintenance. But I think if you're actually going to really want to target something in your sort of really critical 20-30 minutes, you want to have a performance goal to it as well. So are you doing a single leg dip or a split squat to focus on your knee and hip control if you're thinking about your power transfer on the bike and your stance phase on the run, rather than, this will make me stronger and more resilient as an athlete for injuries. That would be my advice.
It is a completely different way of thinking about it, isn't it?
Yeah, and we actually don't have that much research to say that all of this stuff prevents injuries. So that's another hard one when you're presented with all of the information. You then question, well, why are you doing it? But we do know the theory. So if we can apply the theory, just like training, intensities, progressive overload, if we can apply the theories of increasing X to make this more stable to allow more power transfer, then hopefully that's enough information to set a proper goal.
Yeah, again, it's another element to add to the whole training thing, isn't it?
That's why triathlon is genuinely so much fun, isn't it? It's not just the exercise, the swim, bike, run. It's all of the technical aspects of training and experimenting with what works for you, with training load and strength and conditioning and rehab and prehab, whatever you want to call it. It's great.
Would you be most likely to be first out the swim, absolutely smashing it on the bike and getting the fastest bike leg, or overtaking people on the run?
Overtaking people on the run. The only experience really is staffs, I guess. I'm never that great on the swim. Now, definitely not comparing myself to the pro athletes.
What would you be out of the water in?
From the couple of races I've done, 26. I don't know. I'm not really sure actually. 26, 27, maybe. I think Stafford was 28. I think it was quite. I don't know. I'm hoping it was quite long. Yeah. And looking at some of the other splits, but I am training around the 123s, 25s in terms of race pace, and that the tracker at Staffs put me at 130. So whatever that, but then the bike I'm pretty strong with, so I held quite good bike strength at Gran Canaria and Stafford, and then the run I managed to overtake to get onto the podium. So I guess the run is where I'm slowly reaping the benefits of being a runner in the past, as long as I can stay injury free.
And is that your favourite bit? Do you love getting onto the run?
Love-hate relationship, I guess. Yep. It's probably the same as everyone. I love it because once you're there, nothing else can go wrong. You've always got the element of the unknown in the swim, and the bike, you've always got the unknown of mechanicals, or there's everything. Everything in theory. It's a pretty catastrophic way of looking at it, but lots can go wrong in the bike. You've got the stress of making sure you're not drafting. You've got the stress of other, sometimes traffic. But the run, it's just you. It's just you and however much effort you want to put in and can put in at the time, as long as you're not carrying injuries, obviously. So definitely the run is the bit where I'm like at my happiness.
So since turning pro, Rob, she has on the podium at Staffs, on the podium at Finland, and then on the podium just this past weekend in Romania. So
at the top of the podium as well.
Yeah, at the top, exactly. So plenty to keep an eye on with Katrina Rye over the next few months.
Love it. All right, then. Let's jump over and we will have a go through Coach's Couch this week. So, Hells, this week, what I've decided to do for this week and the next few weeks is we're going to talk through how to analyze your race performance. Because what I've seen is a lot of times when athletes have raced, we get a sort of note in our Facebook group that says, I did this race and either it went really, really well, in which case brilliant, or it didn't really go the way I hoped it did, in which case not so brilliant. But the key thing with all of this is I try to get our athletes to have a look at their performance really objectively, whether they've had a good race or a race that they weren't quite so happy with. And to go through, we've got this race review document that we use with people, because the idea is we need to treat our race results as a process rather than as like an outcome, and go through all the things that went really well. So even if you had a good race, have a look at the areas objectively where you think, well, do you know what, even though I did a good time, there were areas here where I could have improved. And particularly for the races where you didn't have the overall result that you wanted, sometimes going through the race really methodically helps you find lots of real positives in it. And you can go from feeling disappointed to thinking, actually, there's loads of really good things came from that. And the reason we came around to this way of thinking is because I think it's natural, isn't it? We put a lot of focus on, well, I want to go and do X time, I want to do 5 hours or 10 hours or whatever the number might be. And it's a pretty arbitrary target. And if things don't go your way, then you can end up just feeling like all that training was for nothing, essentially. So by going through the process and finding all the things that did go right, I think you can get a lot of satisfaction from thinking, well, all these things were really good. I can take care of X, Y, and Z to make sure things go a little bit better later. So here's a couple of things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to the athlete post-race review document that I use with the team athletes. I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes so people can download this. And I encourage people to download it and print it out and actually write on it in pen. So you've got a physical copy in front of you. There's loads to write down on here, and you can do as much or as little as you like. But what I'll say is the more that you write on it, the more you're going to get out of it, because the more effectively you're forcing yourself to review. It's essential that you reflect on it honestly and accurately. You need to look at your expectations before the race and review your training leading up to the event, and then look at the data from the race that you've got and compare what actually happened with what you planned was going to happen. So again, a big part of this is getting athletes to go back and look at the sort of the race planning document we have people use beforehand, and then compare whether what they actually did was what they planned to do or not. Because often that's where the devil's in the details, don't they? You can often find out that the reason you didn't have a good run wasn't because you didn't do great training. It was because you ended up pushing a bit too hard on the bike, for example. Okay, so go to the show notes. You can download a quick copy of this, print it out, go through it, especially if the race that you've had recently hasn't been the race that you hoped. Two things. I think it'll help you feel much better about yourself, which is really nice, but it'll also inform future planning for how to execute that race come race day, rather than thinking you need to throw the baby out with the bathwater and I'm giving up triathlon because I didn't get the time or the place I wanted. But hopefully it'll give you a bit of a G up and reflect on all the things that did go really well. So one other thing here, once you've been through it, if you are one of these people who've not had the race that you deserved or expected, I've got a couple of slots available this week that you can talk through your race results with me over Skype or FaceTime or the phone if you want. So there's a link in the show notes. Pop your email address in there, and I'm going to email a couple of our listeners and work out a time we can chat, and we can see if we can help you out, see if we can work through the race review document with you, and see if we can help you out for next time. Sound cool?
Sounds cool. Yeah.
Sounds cool. All right. So those links will be in the show notes. If you've not had the race you wanted, just bang your email address in there, and hopefully I'm going to have a couple of slots this week where I can just help a couple of people out. Awesome. Right then. News this week, Hells. Let's kick off with Nicola Spirig, shall we?
Yeah, amazing. So, by the way, before we kick off about what she's actually done this weekend, one of my favorite interviews, so this really is one, go back, look through and go and have a listen to it, because it was such a good interview, because you don't often hear her talk as openly and things like that. So yeah, it was a really amazing insight into her life. Anyway, Rob, she was, when I spoke to her, she was pretty heavily pregnant. She gave birth to their third child in April. She was back on the start line in Hamburg this past weekend, not just on Saturday in the women's race. She also did the mixed relay on Sunday, and oh my goodness, she finished 8th in Hamburg.
So she can't be, even if she gave birth on the 1st of April.
Literally 11 weeks ago. 11 weeks ago.
That is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Really, really, wow. And so I think that's pretty much Tokyo. I don't know if it's quite done and dusted, but
It's got to be, hasn't it?
I
You've
think
got to be the
pretty
selectors
much.
looking at that going, yeah, she's back in shape.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, honestly, Rob, she was pushing it on the bike, and she was, she didn't. It's not like she got dropped massively or went massively backwards on the run.
Yeah.
Because that would be the hardest bit.
Yeah,
Well, that is the
totally.
hardest bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
To do after giving birth. So she's just phenomenal.
No
So yeah,
question.
8th place finish for her.
That
Wow.
is absolutely amazing. We should give a shout out here to our sponsors of the news section, Food Cell. Food Cell are a superb top tube nutritional carrier made of cool dimpled plastic rather than a saggy bag, so it's much more aerodynamic. You can fit loads of gels or flapjack or even a full spares kit in. And it's got a slider mechanism on the top rather than a zip, so you can slide it open with one finger as you're riding. You can get out your gel or your food as you're riding and slide it shut again so you don't lose stuff as you're going along. I had this on my bike when I raced a couple of weekends ago, Hells, and it fitted an entire flat kit in there. Inner tube, 2 CO2s, inflator and multi-tool all went in there nicely, and it didn't rattle around, so I was totally covered for aerodynamic kit without spoiling the lines of my beautiful triathlon bike. You know how important that is to me.
Yep. And you didn't have, inners sort of falling off or anything like that.
Didn't have them
They all
flapping
tucked in
around.
safely.
Yeah, especially on a rough course like the one at Abersock on the back lanes. No spares flying out for me. Food Cell were down at Holcombe Half this weekend. Got loads of good reports back from people who raced at Holcombe of having met Mark on the stand there. He was giving out nice new, did you see those Get Your Flow On t-shirts for people who bought them down at Holcombe? So you need to get yourselves over there. If you haven't bought one already at an event, you can use the code Free Post. Yeah, there we go. The code Free Post for free delivery worldwide. So if you're in America, Canada, Australia, it'll be delivered by courier to you. These things are absolutely awesome, and they've got you covered for a way to either carry food or a spares kit as you are riding. Hells, tell me how the Canute Kids Duathlon went this weekend.
Oh yeah, we had race number 3
Race
yesterday.
Number 3 of the series.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I need
Nice
to.
day
I
for it.
honestly, I need to go and
You must
lie
be
under I absolutely pooped. I need to go and lie in a dark place, I think, and just take a few weeks to hide and reflect. Yeah, it was. So yesterday we had 120 children taking part. We had about 30 enter on the day, which was just insane.
Really?
Yeah. We had a
Good
few.
for you for having on the day entries available, because as a parent of a kid, it's dead tempting to go, well, we'll enter you beforehand. But then you think, well, 15 different things are going to come up before now and then, so I won't bother. And often people will make that decision to actually go and do it on the day of the race. So I think it's a brilliant idea.
We had a few, even after registration had shut. It's like, oh, can we enter? You're just like, oh God, yeah, yes, no problem.
Yeah, brilliant.
Or 2 minutes before the fun run. Little Johnny's just seen his brother race.
Love it.
And he wants to race now. Can he do it? Yeah, no worries. Go on, do it. So
love it, Hells. Yeah. That's the attitude.
This summer we've had nearly 300 children, getting them involved in running or duathlon. Isn't that cool?
It's really good, yeah. Really impressive. Love it.
So yeah, that was my weekend, and it was honestly crazy. I do need a little. I need a lie-in, I think, Rob, at some point. But hey, that will not happen for a while. The other thing I was going to say is that Lucy Gossage. It was long course weekend in Tenby this weekend.
Yeah.
And Lucy obviously completely smashed it, and she said, "Long course weekend is purely and simply fun. So good to be back. Who reckons I'll be able to resist another trip this year?" Is that the biggest hint that she's going to do Ironman Wales?
Oh, well, maybe.
Who knows? If
you're racing Ironman Wales, you go, no, don't do it, Lucy. Don't do it. Stick to working full time.
And she said, P.S. Watch out for Rebecca, who finished second. I think she's one to watch. And Rebecca, who finished second, Rob, is actually Rebecca Duxbury. And she, this year, someone got in touch with us. Daniel Anderton said, Rebecca Duxbury's season just keeps getting better. 12 months on from not owning a bike That's an ITU long worlds win, second age grouper at Staffs, and now a long course weekend podium.
Wow. And she ran 3:15 as well, which...
And that is not flat.
That course is super impressive,
flat.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so quick results then. Lucy Gossage in first, Rebecca Duxbury in second, and Jill Cliff in third. Then on the men's side, we had Oliver Simon take it out in 9 hours flat, Jason Williams and Jordan Kelly. And then my old mate, Gareth Petts in fourth. Good to see him with a 2:50 marathon. Nice work, man. He's always running them down to try and finish.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And Rob, what about bad swimming? Your dad?
Oh, we're going to close with a little anecdote today. So if there's kids listening, it's perhaps not one for the kids to hear this. It's a bit gruesome. So my dad, God bless him, 75 years old. My dad lost his left eye in a rugby accident when he was in his mid-20s. He was charging down a ball and dived on it and got kicked fully in the face. And so basically I grew up with my dad having a glass eye, which he's had his whole life. He went swimming while he was on holiday last week. I'd lent him a pair of my goggles and he came back and he said, I tell you what, those goggles don't half have a strong suction cup on them, Rob. I was out swimming and all of a sudden, he said, I felt my eyeball pop out into the goggles as I was swimming.
I wasn't expecting that.
So I want to say to listeners, next time you think you're having a bad swim, you go to Austria and it's non-wetsuit and you're going slower than you think. At least you're not floating around in the middle of the sea. And he said, I couldn't take the goggles off in case...
Oh my God, I feel a bit like...
I know, it's a bit queasy, isn't it? Sorry.
Just had my toast, Rob.
Oh, bless. But bless my dad getting out there and giving it some. I don't think he's given up the idea of doing a triathlon yet at 75 years old. It'd be great to see him do one.
I think my mum and dad, when did they say? They said at some point, they were like, oh yeah, we were thinking we might go and enter one. I was like, really? My dad, when he tries swimming, when he does front crawl, because he has like no flexibility in his ankles at all, he honestly kicks and he goes backwards.
We've all been there.
It goes the wrong way.
Yeah,
he's had swimming lessons. I don't think it's
in my first swim sessions myself, and used to read those 220 swim sets, and they go like warm up 400 meters kick, and you go, I literally cannot get to the end of the length kicking. How am I supposed to do that?
Yeah. So there we go. But, well, anyway, let's see if we can get our parents maybe next year to do a triathlon in their sort of very late 60s, early 70s,
mid 70s. That's a great idea, actually. Yeah, it's a great idea. He might not thank me for pushing him into that.
Oh no, I think they might enjoy it. They can just do a super sprint or something like that. Or they could do it as a relay. Oh my God, I'm just putting too many ideas out there.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to tell you one thing and then I've got to go, Rob.
Okay.
I went for a recce of the Peak Skyline on Saturday on my own.
How was it?
A little bit scary, completely out of my comfort zone, me with my map. It gave me confidence that I can actually read a map, so that's good. Lost the path a couple of times. Visibility was absolutely rubbish. I couldn't see the cat and fiddle. And I did think, what have I signed myself up for? Oh my God.
If you get lost in the mist up there, you really can... Up on top of the peaks, you can just not know where on earth you are, can't you? Very, very quickly.
Moorland.
It's quite humbling.
Yeah. So for that, it was a good confidence booster. Saw a few D of E groups out and felt ridiculously sorry for them. But I did think, seriously, oh my God, I'm in for a tough day on the 3rd of August.
The 3rd of August, is it?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
50k. I only did 20. It took me 3.5 hours.
No worries, Hells. Just another 30k to go. It's easy when you're not looking at the map. The map takes up loads of time.
I was thinking. That was what I was thinking. Just every 2 minutes, just keep on checking this sodding map. Oh my God. Anyway, there we go. I'll keep you posted. I'm going again next weekend for another recce.
Love it. Cool. All right. Well, we shall find out more about that next weekend. So next weekend, of course, we've got Ironman UK coming up, haven't we?
Yes.
No pro race at Ironman UK this year, so it's a bit odd not having a pro race, isn't it?
I think so. I am going to be there on the run, cheering on.
Awesome stuff.
If you're doing it, I will have an Oxygenaddict t-shirt on. Not that you're going to be in any, not you, but, listeners doing it, friends of listeners doing it. Not that they're going to be in any state to actually be looking into the crowd, but I will be cheering like a loon on the run.
I want to hear that you've got a sore left hand from high-fiving people, Hells.
Sore voice. Well, you'll probably hear the sore voice next week.
You certainly will. Give Hells a shout out. You'll hear the voice before you recognise the face, of course. Great stuff. So if you are racing Ironman UK, best of luck to you. Beautiful course. It's going to be a wonderful day out, and I'm sure we're going to get some decent weather this year. So good luck to you. All right, everyone. So thanks to our sponsors, precisionhydration.com, foodsell.co.uk, and teamoxygenaddict.com triathlon coaching. Until next week, everyone, have a great, safe training and racing week. I am Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And the best of luck to you with your training and racing. Until next week, we'll speak to you all soon, everyone. Thanks a lot. See ya.